So, hi, hello again. It is time for another Scribble Club. I'm hoping to make this a weekly thing, if I can keep up. I'm doing my best. But as it is ArtFight at the moment, which if you don't know what ArtFight is, it is a event on the ArtFight website that goes on for the whole of July. It involves two teams, and each team will fight each other by drawing each other's characters. And you get points for doing this. It's a lot of fun. You get to draw a variety of different characters and different people's characters. And it's a really great way to test out developing a style, like all challenges. Repetition, testing out a style, learning new things. And also, if you're lucky, some people might draw your characters in return. So it is a ton of fun. I definitely recommend joining. If you've never done it before, you can join in late, just tag on. I think that you're still able to do that. And it happens every year in July, so it's something to keep an eye out for and kind of prepare throughout the year. But in honour of that, I thought we would do a little character designing kind of activity today. This isn't so much much of a prompt, and more of just a general kind of starting point that I found really helpful for developing characters. So the technique, loosely calling it a technique, is using video games, specifically the character creator part of video games, as a way to develop a character. So some good games to do this with are The Sims, Fallout games, so Bethesda games, Skyrim. Those are three that I can think of that I've played that have a very almost realistic character creation stage, and have quite a variety of stuff you can do. The Sims is particularly good for that. But you could also use more stylized games like Stardew Valley or Animal Crossing, but you might find them a little bit harder to translate that style into your own style, it looking like that game. So it might be a little bit hard to distinguish yourself over. So the technique basically consists of going into the game and either clicking randomly getting a character and just going from there. Sims is particularly good, I think, like I said, for the random bit. You just click the random, you can get a completely random looking person. Pick the outfits, you can kind of develop your character's aesthetic style from there. Particularly good. Sims 4 I think is free on EA still. So you can just download that. Or you can get, I think the Sims like phone app and stuff has similar. So there's ways of doing it through there. And yeah, you can then also, a benefit of this is take the kind of setting of the game. So like Stardew Valley, farming, Fallout, Apocalypse, Sims, family life, everyday life. But you can kind of use that context, you can use things that happen in the game to kind of inspire your character's story. I'll kind of go into it in a bit with my own one in a minute, my own delightful character. Because it can be a little bit harder in something like Fallout where you have such a set storyline to kind of bridge it over. But something with The Sims, you can certainly like use things that happen in the game. You can take like your Sims house catches on fire. I don't know, you can turn that into a big thing about how your character's like living off of their house burning down and moving on from that. You can really use different things that happen in the game. They get abducted by aliens to kind of prompt things. Maybe your character is an alien because they got abducted by aliens. I don't know. Go where you want. Stardew Valley, you can make a cute little farmer character and kind of bridge it out from there, like move it off from the genre of the game. I think Red Dead Redemption, do you get to make a character in that? I don't know. Cowboys though. And yeah, so I'm going to go right into it. So yeah, brief rundown. You get a character in a game, make it, mess about, make something, draw that character out, take some of the story, and it can just be a fun little starting point to get you going somewhere. So I will explain that to you now, kind of walk you through how I've done it with my delightful character Ada. And so here we have the shakiest video possible of Ada in Fallout, my Fallout character my sole survivor. So kind of going into, she's a pretty default kind of generic version, but you can really go with the random tool, make a character. I would really recommend The Sims, I think, for this, because it's a lot more variety you'll get. But yeah, for me, Ada works as a good way of sparking an idea for a character. And I would say very much I've taken the character from Fallout and kind of built her off of there. So just sketching her out here to begin with, I always find it's best to sketch out my sketchbook first, but I would also recommend you can then take photos of your character from the game rather than keeping it open. So take photos on your phone so you can then reference to them. And if you do it in your sketchbook, you'll then get a better idea before if you are going into digital or if you're just keeping it in your sketchbook. But yeah, this is me just sketching her out. So with Ada, I kind of took the original story of Fallout 4 and added in, I like to play a character when I play games, so I like to pick out kind of, am I going to be neutral good, lawful good, which is what Ada is a lawful good character. And I kind of went with what group she went with. So in Fallout, she went with the Minutemen. This might not make too much sense if you don't play Fallout. But I made her kind of made the decisions she made through the game influence the character, and through this I kind of got this idea of who she was. Like, was she taking the sassy response to things? In The Sims, that might be, is this character being annoyed with people? You can go from the traits that you pick in the trait picking stage, and you can kind of use them to influence what kind of character they are. It's a very good way of developing it for you and using that as kind of a resource to do what you might be doing otherwise. It's combining different things to make it easier on yourself. Some examples of kind of where I've gone from here is that with my other 2 playthroughs of Fallout, I found it fun to try and make the characters exist within the same universe as my original sole survivor. So obviously when you play a game, particularly like Fallout where it has a set playthrough, or Skyrim where there is a kind of story going on, it can get confusing. You can't really, you wouldn't have multiple of that main character, but I like to kind of think, why would this character be in the same position? So my other characters I have for Fallout, I have one of them, I like to imagine that he was a test subject in a separate thing, maybe for some kind of FEV experiment. And that's why he's pre-war and he's been suspended in a similar way. And another character, I've kind of gone with the idea that she's a synth that was downloaded memories from a pre-war person, and she kind of has that connection of thinking she is pre-war. So you can kind of use the story that the game gives you to then develop into something new. You can use the decisions, like do you choose to kill people, to influence what kind of a character they are and who they are, and kind of use it to develop them into your own person. A way to push it even further, particularly with games like Fallout where you've got that set thing, is what I've been doing and finding actually really fun, and can be a good way of developing any of your characters if you're losing interest in them, is to switch them over to another genre. So what I've been really enjoying doing with my Fallout kind of collection of OCs is translating them into a fantasy landscape that's kind of Skyrim-esque, D&D sort of world. So we once again have Ada here, but instead of like power armor or the armor she would be wearing in Fallout, she is wearing knight's armor. And I've been sort of developing the idea that what if she was a person who was frozen using magic, and has come back into this kind of fantasy world 200 years later or longer than that to find it completely different, and is kind of going to towns and helping them as she would have in Fallout, but in this fantasy setting. It can be really fun if you do this like with characters to then kind of go, well, how would they react in this setting? How would this thing from this original story translate over? And from here you can kind of make it your own thing. You can say take a Skyrim character and modernize them, put them into a modern setting, think how would they survive in like a city type of town. What would dragons be in the city? What would that turn out in that way? You could take your Sims characters and go, well, what if this was apocalypse? What if the area of that the Sims town is set in was invaded by zombies? How would that work? What if your character was aliens living in a normal sim society or flower things? You can really use it to take and kind of make it your own. Kind of use the story to inspire whatever it is you want to do. And so, yeah, that's it's been a bit of a loose concept today, but I hope it kind of gives you some kind of inspirational prompt if you're really stuck on making characters. I find this also works with books. I mean, like in a really loose setting, you can take any form of media, take things you enjoy, take aspects and make them your own, like reimagine them, retranslate them into something new. It's kind of making fan fiction and then adding in your own characters and stuff. It's a thing that's been done for ages. But I hope this can be helpful to you, kind of give you a prompt for making your characters. If you really struggle, it can give you some kind of starting point that can help you to bring something and start making something that is your own from something else. Thanks again for joining me and, I don't know, tagging along for this. Do let me know anything else you'd like to see, if this is the kind of thing you enjoy. I'm always open for feedback. I'd love to know what kind of things you'd be wanting to see more of in the future. But yes, thanks again for coming along today, and I will hopefully see you again soon. Goodbye.